remind you of the power of audaciousness. So I am very moved to be on this panel, and also moved of how we've all moved into be such a team, and everybody bringing the tools that they have together to move this forward. And you know, Code Pink has been on the impeachment drive since we started our Give Bush a Pink Slip. This is actually the slip I got arrested with, disrupting him at the RNC when he was giving his acceptance speech. You know, Cindy reminds us all the time. I want to say that everything I wanted to say, everyone's already said, so I'm gonna. That we're the leaders we've been waiting for. And so as we've talked about the inside-outside strategy, I'm going to talk mostly about the outside strategy. Because what we've seen as an anti-war movement is that the work we've done has been effective. And that by doing this work, we've allowed the voters to come to their own conclusion. We don't do that, but we get the information out, we be audacious, we show that there is something different than what's happening out of the White House, that there are people willing to stand in it, there's mothers willing to sit outside of Bush's ranch, there's people that are willing to work day and night and collect signatures and deliver them and remind us what the truth is. And then that allows the voters to make up their mind. And they made up their mind. And as we heard earlier, those numbers are pretty impressive of where their minds are, and we know that those people in Congress are way behind the electorate, way behind the electorate. And when those the newbies, we call them, new members of Congress get to Washington, their brains will be as contorted as everyone else that lands inside the Beltway. So it means that we have to continue the jobs that we've already been doing. That for Code Pink, that means, you know, we continue to show the cost of war in communities. We've just finished a big campaign for us called Give Peace a Vote. And what it reminded us is how important it is to move into the community. I think we hadn't been that deep in the community for quite a while, and it meant we had to go out to places that weren't our little insular circle and talk to people about voting for peace. And what we learned is that there were a lot of people out there that wanted to be with us, and they wanted to have something to do, and they wanted even to sign a petition that we're so bored with, that they wanted anything to be able to say, this is what I need and this is what I want. And so I encourage everyone to move outside of the circles that you run in and go to new circles. I mean, what do we need to do? One of the Gore Vidal did a little thing on our Give Peace a Vote website, and he said, you know, activists march so you can get Wall Street to march. Because he reminded us that, you know, in the 60s, it was Wall Street that came down out of their offices and marched in '68. There was a big turning point in ending the war in Vietnam. And so what is it that we need to do to go organize teachers and engineers and professors and doctors and lawyers and in their own communities to start writing about this, thinking about this, talking about this? So like Liz said, it's not the energy that impeachment holds from Clinton, but it goes back to be the seriousness of what impeachment was in the 70s. And that we don't let this become a feeding frenzy, but that it holds the reverence that Liz talks about it was for her. That it wasn't an exciting moment when she was working on impeachment. It was a painful moment. That we as a country have had to come here. That we have to stand up and do something like this isn't something to celebrate, it's something to mourn. And that if we move out from that place of the seriousness of it, and I'm all for being playful, but that what we're moving from is the place of grief we have for what's happened to our country. Not just our country, but what that has allowed to happen in other countries. That we've watched literally the birthplace of civilization be destroyed. So if we can move from that place, I think that we'll be more effective. And if we can move out of our circles and into new circles by asking questions, which I think that's such a great idea. What Liz says, it's like really not saying go impeachment, but why haven't we had impeachment? What's in the way? When we know all of this, why hasn't it happened? I I mean, you'd be surprised that the way people think is, if it was meant to be, it would have happened. So we have to get that it is meant to be out there and that it hasn't happened to be what the story's about. So that you pull the energy off of the push and into the question. Why hasn't it happened? This has happened, we know this. And impeachment hasn't happened? What's wrong with this picture? And getting that into communities, to start having a conversation about that. Getting that into the town halls that we're talking about is, what is it about our democracy, this amazing thing that we have, that all of a sudden we're all feeling so much more hopeful about? That, you know, what happened on Tuesday, I can see what it's done for so many of my friends is going, oh my God, this thing just might work. This thing that we thought was dead just might be working. And with that confidence, I think we'll watch more people willing to get out of the streets, willing to take this conversation into not just the blogosphere, which is one world, but into, you know, the Philadelphia Lawyers Association and the Boston doctors community. And when it starts happening there, the movement is enormous. We've watched films be made. We have our little pink flex. You can always go there if you want to take something to a community that hasn't seen it, to talk about what really happens with the soldiers or what really happens with war profiteering. I want to throw it out there. I want somebody to make a movie called Liar with, you know, what really happened. If you just did a Robert Greenwald that you had to sit through, that's as hard to sit through as The Grand Truth, or as hard to sit through as a Rockford Cell, where you just want to get up out of the room. It's just more information that you want to know and more pain than you want to know. Let's make one of those that just starts to play in theaters, and I think it would do well. Kind of The Ground Truth, Rockford Cell meets Barat, you know, so that people really get what's alive and real right now. Other things that we at Code Pink like to do is continue to bring the Iraqi voices here, because, you know, like the voices of the veterans, like the voices of the mothers, the Iraqis have voices that when you hear them, you can't have question in yourselves anymore, and what we run against so much is that place of confusion and questioning where what's right. So we've brought the Iraqi women over, and we watched, even in our own community, people be moved and get stronger in their commitment to bring the troops home. We're bringing Iraqi parliamentarians here. We will be actually having our town hall in Los Angeles with 3 members, leading members of the Iraqi parliament, which will be touring for 10 days around the country and definitely doing the inside track while they're here. Other things that we can do, I think, really important right now, is to support the work of the veterans. So happy to see so many here and so many that are so active. And we really need to, as communities, support them with the tools we have, support them in getting their story out there, support the mothers. Cindy works tirelessly, and you know, how hard is this to do when you're grieving the loss of a child also? It's just kind of unfathomable still for me, what she does. So it's getting those voices out there, inviting them into communities, knowing communities that your circles are encircling and saying, come speak here, helping them get someplace where there aren't beds to talk. It's another thing that we do at Code Pink and we encourage other groups to do. So I think I've pretty much covered everything except that, you know, I think Nancy Pelosi's right to be doing what she's doing, because if the Democratic leadership was to take this on, it'd start to be about politics. And it's not about politics. It's about our Constitution. It's about America. And so it's our job to fan this flame, this candle that Cindy lit, needs to turn into a forest fire and burn away the dross of the lies and burn away the fear that has so been implanted in the hearts of Americans. And it's our turn to lead and deliver the flame that they need to make this happen. I mean, Conyers and Leahy are committed to the truth. They don't care what they're being told. They're doing the work that has to happen, and we need to be doing the work that has to happen. Thank you.